Today we are going to make a simple diorama base, and to do this I'm going to go to a thrift shop and look and see if I can find like an old trophy or an old plaque or something and kind of rip the face off of that. And you can see here I've done that. It's got really nice edges, which is really all I need. So now I'm going to get some blue painter's tape, and I'm going to measure in about a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to tape off the edges so that we don't get anything on there. Next step is going to be to take some good old white glue, and I'm going to kind of smear that around in this area that you see here and prepare it for the next phase. And the next phase is going to be, I'm going to take some foam, some regular old styrofoam that is left over from some project. I'm going to measure it and just cut it to size to fit right there in that open area. I've actually cut 2 pieces of foam, and the other one I've cut a little bit smaller and on an angle. And you can see here I've got glue on it. It's ready to go. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put it on my base, and I'm going to let it sit for about an hour or so and let it dry really good. Once that is dry, my next step is going to be to kind of carve that just a little bit so that the angles aren't quite so sharp. And then I have these 2 pieces of bark, of agricultural bark, whatever you want to call it. It's used quite a bit in landscaping, and they're about medium-sized pieces, and I have cut out some little areas and kind of stuffed these in there, glued them in there, and we're going to wait for them to dry. And then once they're dry, I'm going to take this lighter and just kind of go over some of the edges to kind of not only round it out just a little bit, but give it more of that smooth look. So once I'm happy with kind of the lay of the terrain, I'm going to mix up some celluclay, and I'm going to use a little bit of glue and water and, well, the celluclay, kind of mix it together. I'm not going to cover the entire base. I'm just going to take little chunks at a time, and I'm going to put this in some of the cracks and crevices, like underneath the rocks, or the bark, I should say. Then I'm going to mix up this concoction. It's kind of a tan color. It's a Panzer Yellow by Mission Models. And I'm going to take some of that, put a few drops in my mixing bowl here, and a couple of the RAL Brown, Panzer Brown, a couple of drops of that. And then I'm going to add some white glue to this mix. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm going to put a little bit of water and mix this whole thing together and kind of turn it into a glue, a very thin glue that I can paint on my landscape, and it will also have kind of a earth tone to it. So now we're going to get the dirt ready. I've got some dirt from the backyard. I'm putting it here on the screen. I'm going to take the larger chunks, the larger rocks out, and wash them up and use them later. And you can see here's my nice fine dirt that I'm going to be using for this particular project. So I'll put this in a little container of some sort, if you can get like an old salt and pepper shaker. Anyway, here I have put down the glue, the colored glue, and you can see I'm sprinkling on the dirt over the whole thing. So this is how it looks at this point. Now we just need to wait for that to dry so that we can kind of pick it up and get all the loose dirt off. But for now, that's kind of how it looks. So once we are done with that, I'm going to add a couple of other colors of earth in on this, and I'm going to start putting together some of the little rocks. You can see the rocks in the background there that I have. These, of course, are the rocks that were left over after I did the sifting. I've washed them so I can put them in just some random places. I'm ready to start putting in some of the brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, you could use an old paintbrush. I happen to use something from Woodland Scenics. It's kind of a clump grass, and just cut it to a certain length, dip it in some of the glue, some of the white glue, and just put it in random areas on the base. And I just keep going with it. Once I put it in, I kind of spread it out a little bit, make it look more like grass. I keep going until I'm happy with the amount that I've got. And here's the finished product. I've thrown 3 Marines on this. I'm trying to do kind of an Okinawa scene. So, I don't know, it was very simple, very easy. Hopefully we pulled it off pretty well. And well, you'll have to judge for yourself if this is a technique that you would want to use.